folks, I'm Lucy and I design dolls that can be stitched with an embroidery machine at my little shop called Ballyhoo Creations. And this is the 7th video in my beginner series for machine embroidery newbies. We're going to talk about where do designs come from. It's sort of a birds and the bees about designs because there are so many myths and misunderstandings about machine embroidery designs. Some of the questions I'm going to answer are things like, can you put any design on your machine? Are they specific to the brand of the machine? How can you tell a good design from a bad one? Are all those free designs on the internet safe? What is all the fuss about copyright? And then there's my favorite, how do I make custom embroidery designs of my own artwork? I'm going to address all of these things in this video, all about embroidery design. So let's jump in. Can you put any design on your machine? The basic answer is yes. You're not restricted to the designs that are preloaded on your machine. You can purchase designs from third parties and transfer those onto your machine. I won't get into the step-by-step in this video because it looks different depending on your computer and which internet browser you use, but almost all newer machines have a slot on the right side for a USB stick. Some machines connect with the USB cable to your computer, and older machines may use a card reader system, but you can still find the reader-writer devices so you can transfer any design, just like the newer machines. And of course, some of the newer high-end models have wireless transfers, or the Eversone can do it. It's the only entry-level machine that has Wi-Fi. Every other brand uses Wi-Fi as a premium feature, so you have to pay more for technology that's over 20 years old. Yeah, Wi-Fi came out in 1998, so get with the times, all of you machine makers. God. So yeah, just about any embroidery machine will work with designs you purchase on the internet. Or sometimes you can buy designs on a CD or a USB thumb drive. By the way, a thumb drive is just another name for a USB stick or a flash drive. People use those names interchangeably, talking about the same thing. Throughout this video, you'll hear me talk about digitizers and designers. I'm talking about people like me who create embroidery designs and put them up for sale. Later in this video, I'll talk about how you can digitize or create your own custom designs. But we'll start with examples of designs that are purchased, okay? Are designs specific to the machine and brand? No, but also kind of yes. Some brands want you to think that you can only use designs that you purchase from them. I know my Viking Designer 1 gives me an error message anytime I load a design that's not made by them. But high and mighty corporate BS all put aside, you can put any design on your machine if it passes 2 criteria: file format and design size. Let's talk about size first because size does matter. Your machine knows the largest size design it can stitch. This is not actually determined by the hoop size, it's actually the size of the embroidery arm or the pantograph that sets this in stone. If your embroidery area is 5 by 7 but your design is 6 by 10, your machine will say poo-poo to you because it can't handle the design that big. Even if you try to go a fraction of an inch too big, it will give you an error. So make sure you know the maximum embroidery size. Typically it's the biggest hoop that came with your machine, and keep that in mind when you're buying designs. You can resize designs and shrink them with special software, or sometimes the machine can do it itself. But that can also create more problems than they solve, so buy designs that fit your machine. The other thing you need to know when you buy designs is what file format do you need. Brands have their own formats, and some brands have several because they couldn't seem to figure out how to future-proof their product. It's embarrassing. If you're online, you'll hear about the PES format. You'll hear that a lot. PES works on Baby Lock and Brother machines, which are the most sold for home embroidery, so it has the largest user base. And it's not better or worse than the other formats. Most digitizers sell designs in multiple formats so that anyone with any machine can stitch their design. We typically choose the Big 9 or Big 11 or whatever because those are the formats that get used the most. So when you unzip a design, you'll see things like PES, VIP, SEW, XXX. No, it's not an adult version of the design. Find out which format your machine uses and then stick with that. Here's a little tip. Get a little post-it note and write down your hoop sizes as well as your format and put it by your computer or wherever it is that you shop for embroidery designs. You might think that you're going to remember that information, but you might not embroider or buy designs for a while, and when you come back you're going to have to go look it up again. So just put a little post-it by your computer and leave it there. Okay, I want to mention 2 special formats, the DST and the EXP. The DST was created for Tajima machines, while EXP is the Melco format. And they've been around since the beginning. So when all the machine brands started getting into home embroidery machines, they based their software off of either the DST or the EXP. Why do you care about that? Well, for that reason, most machines can read one or both of those formats. Even if your brother wants a PES file, it can also read the DST. But there's a huge caveat. Those formats don't store color information or hoop size. So if you pull up a DST file on your brother machine, it will stitch it for you, but it will look weird on the display. It'll have like purples and reds and blacks. It's not broken. That file format is just not intended for your home embroidery machine. It'll work, it'll stitch fine, but it'll just look weird on your machine display. No big deal. Okay, there's another format that deserves a special mention, and that is the Bernina ART or ART format. And why is it special? Because Bernina says so. They think it's so special that only their Bernina software can create the .art files, and of course their software is very expensive, and most digitizers don't use machine brands of software. We use software like Embroidery or Hatch or Embrilliance, and none of those can create art files because Bernina won't allow it. So if you have a Bernina embroidery machine, please stop complaining that designers don't include art files in their download, because Bernina created that mess. Just stitch the EXP file instead. It will work fine. It just won't show your colors the way you want them to. How can you tell a good design from a bad one? A good or a bad design, this isn't about style or taste, it's about how the digitizer creates the design. Some are better at it than others, and some leave the digitizing completely up to software. That's called auto-digitizing. Why do we care? You might care because sometimes designs like that create more puckering or too many jump stitches or even dense designs that could break your needle. Okay, here's what I suggest for finding quality designs. Look on internet forums or Facebook groups where people speak highly of their favorite design shops. But be aware that even the biggest design shops may have issues with dense designs sometimes. Look at the photos of the design on the shop website. Does it look like an actual item that's been stitched out? Or does it look kind of fake, like software did that? Digitizing software can create a photo that looks like the real design with threads and everything, but they still look a little cartoonish. If there's not a sample stitched out on fabric, it's possible the digitizer never bothered to test their own design, and that's a red flag. Quality digitizers stitch test their designs and have other people with different machines test them as well. Sometimes you'll see the mock-up photo as the first product photo, but then other photos for that product will show it stitched on real fabric or show you different ways to stitch it. If you bought a design from a shop and you like how it's stitched out, remember where you bought it. Bookmark that website. Marketplaces like Etsy or Creative Fabrica allow anyone to sell designs, and some people have had bad experiences. But for every bad digitizer, there's also good artists on those sites as well. So don't judge the whole platform based on one or two designs. Treat each store as a separate shop with a different owner, because that's how those places work. Look for some way to contact the seller if you run into issues. Usually there's a contact us button on the website. If a design has problems, maybe it's a bad design or maybe it's you. I've seen so many examples on Facebook groups where people blame the design, but in fact, it was clearly a poorly stabilized project or bad hooping that caused the problem. You'll hear the words pull compensation knocked around a lot on Facebook groups, mainly by people who have never digitized a design in their life. If you're getting puckering or your design outlines don't mess up, that's called registration. It might be the embroiderer and not the design. Again, look for sample stitch outs when you buy the design and make note of what fabric they tested on. Are free designs safe? You will see many free designs on the internet, and while free files can sometimes be risky and spread viruses, it's not typically what we see with embroidery files. This happens to be a place with machine embroidery on the internet where digitizers have to give away samples so that potential customers can test the quality and decide if they want to spend money in that shop. I give away free designs as samples of my work. In exchange, I ask people to join my email list. So it's kind of a marketing thing for most of us. This is the kind of industry that machine embroidery has become. Everyone wants to try before they buy, and that's good for you. Just be careful of the sites that you're on. Same with internet safety on any other website where you give your personal information. Chances are when you get a free design, you'll have to sign up for a newsletter, you'll have to give your email address, they'll probably ask for your name. They might also ask for your home address or your phone number or something like that. I don't really see the point in that, but some places do that because their shopping cart requires that kind of information and they just haven't figured out how to go and remove that. So don't feel like it's an invasion of your privacy. If you don't want to give that information, don't get the free design. It's that simple. And be polite when you get free designs. I mean, these people are giving this away for free. Please don't take a free design and then complain that it doesn't do what you want. I mean, if it's broken, then just don't buy from them. That's the whole point of stitching out these free designs. But I've seen people who get a free design and then they complain that they can't get the other stuff for free. Or people are just kind of weird on the internet sometimes. But yeah, free designs are pretty much a marketing so that you will find the shops that are giving away the freebies and then hopefully like join a mail list and buy something from them later on. That's usually what those are all about. What's all the fuss about copyrights? Nothing starts a fight on the internet like the subject of embroidery design copyright. It's like you put the Hatfields and McCoys in a room together. It gets crazy really fast. Just get your popcorn and watch. I know a lot about intellectual property laws. That means copyright, trademark, patents, and licensing. But you don't need to know all of that. Here's what you really need to know for embroidery designs. Every digital embroidery file is a copyright work, so you can't share it or sell it without permission. Just because it's easy to copy and send to your friend does not make it legal. You know that little box that you checked when you bought the design? That was you agreeing to the license, which further protects the artist and determines how you can use that design. Read that license file. You may have agreed to never sell anything with that design stitched on it. Or maybe you got unlimited commercial use and you can stitch that design 1,000,000 times. Read the license. It is legally binding as long as you agreed to it before you paid for the design. Trademark protects things like logos or unique names and images of characters. And this is where the heated debate over Disney comes in. They have trademarks for all the Disney and Marvel and Star Wars designs. And the only place you can legally buy those designs is the Embroidery.com website. And you must have a brother machine with a registered serial number to even buy from them. I know, it's extremely exclusionary, and that's why people turn to shops selling unlicensed versions of that kind of stuff, but it's still illegal. Are people getting away with it? Yeah. Probably the same people who downloaded all that free music from Napster and Kazaa. And in the end, you got to do what you think is right. Use your own conscience and decide what level of ethics you're okay to live with. I would love it if we lived in a world where everybody respected the creativity of others and original designs were what everybody strived to create. That would be amazing. But that's not the world we got. So let's move on to the final topic that you've all been waiting for. What if you want to make custom designs from your own pictures or drawings? You can certainly digitize your own designs for your machine. Here's the thing, it ain't cheap and it's not that easy either. I see a lot of people coming to machine embroidery from other areas like Cricut cutters or graphic design, and they know about vector files, so they believe the embroidery machine is just reading a vector file, no big deal. And then they are greatly disappointed when they learn it does not work that way. Embroidery is different than all of those other things. You can't just convert a JPEG to a PES file. That is not how it works, and I see people asking how to do that probably on a weekly basis. There's not some magic website that will turn your graphic into an embroidery design. An embroidery design must be digitized, and there are two ways this can be done: auto-digitized or manual. Auto-digitizing means that the software is converting a graphic file into a stitch file. There are plenty of software titles and even some machines that can do this, but they're only as good as the graphic you give them to begin with. And guess what? That graphic wasn't designed to be stitched by a machine. That graphic knows nothing about stitch density or direction, so the software has to guess, and sometimes it guesses right, and sometimes it's really, really wrong. The other way is manual digitizing, and this is where a person like me or you creates a dot-to-dot design and then tells the software how to stitch each line and each filled-in area. It involves knowledge of stitch length and density, direction and pull compensation. Anybody can learn it, but it takes patience and a willingness to learn. Some people learn faster than others, and some never fully get it. Digitizing software starts at around $300 for Embird, and it goes all the way up into thousands of dollars for other titles. There are free software titles that will auto-digitize. I still haven't seen one that produces a really high quality design, but they can create something decent. There are even free software packages that can digitize. Check out InkStitch or Embroidery if you're really technical and like a challenge. You can figure out how to use those. I don't think those are good for beginners though. If you really want to create your own designs, then look at some different digitizing software packages and compare them to find one you like. Most have free trials. Search YouTube for digitizing tutorials. I've learned a lot that way, but most of all, you just have to start making designs and stitching them out. That's how you learn. I'll link in the description box to a wiki page that lists a whole bunch of different software titles that will get you started. I know that's not what you wanted to hear. We all want it to just be able to take a picture and then send it to our machine and it will stitch this lovely photorealistic design for us. Actually, some software can convert photos that look really amazing, but they struggle with the more traditional designs. And finally, ask yourself, do I really need to do it myself? If you only want a few custom designs, just hire a digitizer to do that for you. There are plenty of embroidery experts who don't digitize their own stuff. They hire it out. There are Facebook groups where this happens all the time. There are digitizers that will do a logo for a chest or a hat for starting at $10 up to $50. It's not that expensive compared to the cost of software. Okay, so that's how you get your own custom designs, and I've spent a lot of time also talking about buying designs and how you can get those to work on whatever machine you have. There's a huge world of embroidery designs out there. I would encourage you to explore many different artists and find designers that you love. That's all I wanted to say about embroidery designs. I only have one more video planned for this beginner series, and that one will be all about troubleshooting problems like puckering and missed registration outlines and birds nesting. So be sure to subscribe and get notified when that final video in the series comes out. See you later, folks. Now go make some stuff.